All right, it's connecting. All right, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on Twitch.
Well, what is Twitch?
That's what the kids use for gaming, to watch each other play games.
Has no. Why are we on it?
Some kids drop some ass and he's playing
It's
games.
kind
Like,
of like, what in the world why would you be on that? It'd be like being on some Hungarian broadcast or something.
The kids need us.
The kids. Kids would go, and we'd be gone.
I'm going to share this to your wall. Let's see.
To my wall?
On Facebook.
What do you mean to my wall?
I'm going to go to your wall, to your page on Facebook, and put it on there in case that helps any of your friends find it.
All right. Well, let me call them all up and tell them I'm on.
I know most of your friends are probably watching this on
I've
Twitch
actually
anyway.
tried not to. I don't want them to know I'm on. I haven't told anybody.
You haven't told anybody?
Mm-mm.
Man, I'm like the biggest braggart in town running
Well,
around.
I'm trying to wait till I look better. I want to be a frog.
I was telling my mom about it. She said, I guess I shouldn't watch, right? I said, no, there's nothing bad. You can watch.
Now, I could probably make just you a frog. I have that technology. To make all three of us frogs, that's way more complicated.
I don't need for y'all to be frogs. I just want to be a frog.
You could be a frog.
And I don't need to be a frog all the time. But I'd like...
You just need a frog button.
Exactly.
Well, what you do is each show you'll be a frog, and at the end of the show we'll have some... We'll get a, it'll be a drawing, and somebody can come in and kiss you at the end, and you'll turn into Steve Moore.
I like that.
Isn't that a good idea?
Depending on who
That
you
is a
get.
good idea. I like
Depending
that.
on who you get to kiss me, that could be rough. Could have a contest.
All right, I'm going to start the intro credits, and we'll be on. Are we ready?
Yes.
Sure.
And
Here we go.
You in public, send in your applications to kiss the frog.
Well, we should hire someone to do this technical stuff. Nathan's trying to be too many
I'm
things.
wearing so many hats.
Yeah, we need to get somebody in here and train them.
I have to trust them.
Oh yeah, well, you have to start out trusting people.
My phone alone is just going off the hook request to be the frog kisser.
All right, here we go. Hey, welcome to another episode of Jabber Jawn, streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Discord, and nathansland.com. We're here again with Steve Moore and Kyle Hogg. I'm Nathan Moore, your host. Welcome to the show. Feel free to chime in through the chat if you have any questions or insight into whatever we might be talking about. Whatever might we talk about? Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep.
Nice to be here.
Benjamin Varney, watching on YouTube. Welcome to the show. Hello there. So what's new, guys?
Oh, well, we're into the Christmas season. Kyle went and represented us at the Stanton Downtown Christmas Parade.
I appreciate
And
that.
we're ready. Now, this is his field report. Kyle?
It was I think the last time I went was probably when I was 16, so it's been 41 years. And I didn't really know what to expect. I walked down there with my brother, so that's where it took me back in time a little bit to walking down with the family.
Uh-huh.
And it was not expecting much. It really took me back, and I had a really good time. It was very nice.
Is your brother older or younger?
He's 3 years younger.
Mm.
He came all the way from Richmond to see it.
Just for the parade?
Yeah.
Y'all made a plan to do that?
Yeah.
How'd that transpire?
I guess he just loved hanging out with me over the Thanksgiving holiday. Wanted to continue that vibe. No, we had a good time. He knew the parade was coming up. He actually works in Charlottesville, so he just came up from Charlottesville.
I saw a clip on Facebook, and it was snowing. How did they do that? Who
They
did
had some.
and who
yeah, I
did
think
that?
Courtney put something on Facebook.
That's what I saw. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was that?
It was like a machine that just did it. Sporadic.
What float was doing it? What group brought the
Oh
snow?
gosh, I think there was 117 floats. I can't
Wow.
remember which one. Yeah. Or not
Well,
floats,
was the one she was on, which was the
No,
radio
no.
station.
But
So what was the snow?
Confetti.
It really fell.
No, it wasn't confetti.
No,
was
it
some
fell
kind of-
nice.
Some kind of
Really?
Yeah.
It looks like snow in the video.
Yeah.
Huh. I would like to know how to do that.
Mm-hmm. Looked like feathers or something. Maybe it was from the Thanksgiving turkeys.
But Courtney represented WQSV, the local indie station that we all listen to and love very well.
So they were taking their WQSV display to the park.
I
earlier
know,
today.
yeah.
It looked pretty good.
Unloaded,
Nice
yeah.
big
I
tower.
know, it's very cool. And I'm sure some other people were there too that I know, but I just happened to see Courtney. I think your neighbor Steve was there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what else. He asked me if Daryl was there. I'm not sure if Daryl was there or not.
I felt pretty bad not going. It's right there.
Do you go?
And
Do you go to him a lot?
I've been to them before, but I didn't go this time. But we could hear it through the
Okay.
window. Just being like, "You're lame, you're lame, ding, 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 you're lame, you're lame." Ding, ding, ding. Yeah.
That was fun. Lots of candy there if you're a kid.
Mm-hmm. I always get mad because they don't give it to me anymore.
I know.
I'm like, it's like the trick-or-treating too old or something.
But it was nice weather, nice time to be out there.
Sounds like it went off very well.
Yeah.
That's really great. There's a lot of people put a lot of energy into that. That's very nice.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't realize how many parking spaces there are downtown until you see the Christmas parade. And you're like, I never knew people could park there. I never knew you could park up on the sidewalk in somebody's yard. It's like just weird places parked. But my brother couldn't get into Hardee's.
Couldn't get into Hardee's.
The line at Hardee's was he was starving because he hadn't eaten. So he said, on the way down, I'll stop and get a burger. So many people trying to go to Hardee's couldn't even get in.
Wow. That's something.
This is the second time we mentioned Hardee's in this show. Not this show. We also talked about the writer.
Oh,
that worked
that's
at
true.
Hardee's.
The author that wrote his book sitting in there. Whatever that's all about. Oh, there's that sound. Oh, God. Oh, it's a long one. All right, move yours around. It stopped. Okay, just hold it right like that for the rest of the show. So we did something a little... I'm just kidding. Hopefully. That was a good long one, though. Maybe it is yours. Sorry about that sound out there, guys. So we did something a little different this week in that we all watched the same movie since we saw each other last. It was called The Imitation Game, the story of Alan Turing, and who broke the Enigma code of the Nazis, also basically invented coding and the whole concept of the personal computer, or the digital computer, and just an amazing man. What stuck with you the most, Dad, after watching that? What?
Well, gee, that's a hard question to answer. I got into it. I got into what they were trying to do, and that whole historic thing is. I liked what they did there with trying to create that feeling of the energy there. Again, like for one thing was I was shocked by how homosexuality was treated just then, and and it wasn't that long ago.
It just wasn't that long ago.
And it was so brutal.
That's what I was thinking too. It was like the clash of like.
Uh-oh. Not hearing you now. Oh.
hear me?
When it works, it's a miracle.
Should I be talking or not talking?
Let me resetting this guy here.
Can you hear me?
There you are. You're back. And we're back. Go ahead.
But I thought it was too the clash of moving into the computer age and just like he said, how homosexual was just, just. I mean, even though you knew it was happening then, it seemed like something from like 500 years before. It was like the oldest hates and prejudices tied in with like, he was like at the. Then he wasn't. He was the center of the computer stuff, but that was really weird. I thought that was weird too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's such recent history
Right.
that all that happened.
But also just the whole thing of the crossword puzzles. It wasn't really electronic stuff that solved it. It was people that just knew how to piece stuff together, and see patterns and everything like that.
Mm-hmm. Although that machine he made,
Oh, no.
like, how do you not only be a math whiz, but like know how to make a machine like that? I mean, that's weird.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
Well, and the one thing, everybody has their own specialties. Like the one guy he considered himself a mathematician,
Right.
and he qualified that compared to other characters. So everybody had their own skills. You can be a mathematician and not know how to put a computer together,
Mm-hmm.
but it takes a certain type of mind to see it over here in your head and then to actually put it into things like what
Right.
you're doing. And again, there's a gift there. But it's so interesting how the human mind and what we've learned about our minds and how each one is different. And that's basically what that was talking about. A lot of the social aspect of that movie was about everybody there, by definition, was weird or different.
And that's what
And
made
that's
them
why they were there.
invaluable.
That's what made them valuable.
Right.
But it also made them not socially acceptable in some ways.
Right.
And now we're hearing all that now in terms of brain chemistry as we learn about the different categories of autism, for instance. We're really seeing that everybody's brain works a little bit differently and has strengths and weaknesses, and that's, we're starting to see that some of the autistic people that we thought weren't qualified to do things in society are actually, and that's what the movie is talking about, that those people are the ones that get something
Have a different
new,
point of view, yeah.
new done. They see things differently, and that allows them to do things
Right.
differently, and allows us as a people to do things differently. So, yeah, all that's coming to pass. It has come to pass, and we're in the process of understanding that. But socially, we're still got a long way to go.
Yeah, I thought it was. I mean, if you haven't seen the movie, it's worth watching. But the moral dilemma of to sacrifice the few to save the many,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, man, that'd be like that's a hard choice.
That's a really, yeah. I'm reading a book now that's talking about that in the novel of one of my Louise Penny is talking about that very thing of, what's considered a hero. Do you save that person right there, or do this that's going to save people all over the world?
Right.
That's a difficult thing.
Really is.
And what was your take on it? You're the one that was overwhelmed by
It
it.
was just, I mean, I thought it was fascinating on so many levels. I'd always heard about Turing and the Turing test of the classic is where I first heard about him was the Turing test of how you determine whether AI has reached the level of people or whatever, and you do the Turing test. If you can tell the difference between it, whether it's a computer or a person, then it fails the Turing test. And so that's where I first heard about him.
No, what kind of test? Is that like a written test?
It's
what do you...
it's I don't think it's set questions. I'm not exactly sure how it works, but I do know that now AI since then is able to pass the Turing test.
Oh, wow.
That happened in the last 20 years or something. So it's sort of interesting. But I always heard about him in that sense, but I had no idea how deep that story was and how incredible that man was, and how heartbreaking his end was, and how he saved the world. He saved millions of lives, but he had to keep it a secret.
Right.
That's so intense. He had to keep it a secret. So then when he gets shafted by the police, arrested for deviancy or whatever, there's not even any. I mean, you would think at that point members of the government would swoop down and save. It was just unbelievable that there wasn't that kind of. I don't even know the word for it. But one of the things I thought was really interesting that I had never knew anything about from that story was the fact that after they cracked the Enigma code, they had to keep that a secret from the world.
Right.
And so for the rest of the war, every action that they did based on intel from breaking the code, they had to come up with an alternative story for how they came up with that information. And that was like that. I mean, that's a conspiracy theory right there. That's a very small segment of government that knows a truth that they can't share with anybody else.
Right.
And in fact, they're lying to the allies. They're lying to the world about how they got. And it had to be a believable story. Like each piece of intel had to be explained with an alternative reality to keep the lie going, and that is fascinating.
And also, they intertwined that they knew the guy was a Russian spy, so they were like feeding him what to feed.
Right.
I mean, the whole thing was like at the end, it say the people think the war was won by just brute force and bodies, and it's just you don't realize the manipulation and lies and stories that go into. I mean, for a good purpose, but
that could be to me. I could watch a whole movie about that. About that whole enterprise that was created after they broke the code, that whole room of people that were receiving those transmissions, decoding them, and then creating an alternative reality of how we got this information to fool the Allies and the Nazis. Fascinating
and it
stuff.
goes back to what you were saying earlier. There would have to be many times there to pull that off, where you would have to let things go and you would have to lose a battle.
Right.
Because you couldn't let them know you knew.
Right.
And so you had to play God over and over again, which would be a hard thing to do.
Mm-hmm. And so he ended up, I have a new theory that he ended up killing, this guy basically invented coding. He was the first person to conceive a digital computer to a certain extent. And he killed himself after being forced by the police to take estrogen, which is such a weird treatment for homosexuality, no matter what. That's just weird.
That doesn't make much sense.
It doesn't make any sense at all. But then he killed himself by taking a bite out of a cyanide-dipped apple. Now you look at the Apple Macintosh logo.
Oh, wow. Was that in the movie? I don't remember that.
No, I don't even know if it's true. I was just thinking that. How the Apple computer logo is an apple with a bite out of it.
Oh, my God.
Ooh, I hadn't thought about that.
It might not be connected, but I don't know.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Shower thoughts.
You're talking about conspiracy theories.
Yeah, well, he's got them.
Oh, yeah.
But that's interesting. I hadn't thought of that.
But that did show, that as not the Apple thing, but the keeping it a secret and that whole, how, a conspiracy can work, because you're like, well, too many people would have to be involved, but it's such a great test case of how this very small part of the government controlled the information and everything else on a worldwide scale. It was pretty fascinating.
And they said they kept it secret for 50 years.
And then kept it secret, which is what killed him. This guy should have been celebrated as a hero. But because he had to keep it all a secret, they had to keep it a secret. And we're spoiling this movie for everybody, but it's a historical movie, so history spoiled it already. But the 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 fact was nobody throughout the entire war ever knew they broke the code. The British government didn't want them to know in case another war broke out they were keeping it a secret even after the war ended. So those people that saved millions of lives never got celebrated. And in fact, a true hero of humanity was tortured by the very state that he saved. It's unbelievable.
Now, do you know? I mean, is most of your knowledge is coming from that movie, or do you know like the other stuff? Like, what happened to the other people?
I don't know.
You don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I did a little deep dive after the movie, but didn't know much going in. And I'd had that movie on my watch list for a long time, and I thought it was going to focus more on the tragic end, and I didn't want to. I just was like, I'm not ready for it. I know I got to watch this, and I had no idea how great. It's a great movie too, right? Cumberbatch or whatever his name is, I think was really fun to watch. I just thought it was a very entertaining movie. No matter what we say here tonight, you're still going to want to watch the movie because it's a great watch and such an important piece of history in modern day history.
And like you said, the homosexual thing, I'm like, that was a crime. Like half the people like half the writers and stuff I love from England and stuff, like they were all gay. Like what? How did they? What is everybody just breaking the law? Nobody.
It's such a weird thing.
Such a weird thing.
Yeah.
Like wasn't Oscar Wilde locked up for like 2 or 3 years for,
I think so.
I guess what they call it deviant behavior or
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Scott Rose says engineers are weird beautiful. Turing proposed that a human evaluator would judge natural language conversations between a human and a machine designed to generate human-like responses.
Well, wasn't that one of the things he said when he was with Christopher, his friend? Like, how is codes any different from us speaking? Like, everybody that's listening to us is basically filtering it through their own brain. You know, one person's thinking what Kyle says is nonsense, and one is thinking, I wish Nathan would talk more. Just the whole thing is how your brain filters. It's not really what's coming out, is how you take it in. Is what he was sort of, that was his whole thing, how you take it in and be able to break it down. It was crazy, all those wheels spinning around.
The eye of the beholder.
Yeah. Yeah, it was tragedy.
And triumph.
Now, what was the machine he had in his house? Was that just a little...
Great question. It's like the original personal computer, but it's a great question.
And the stuff they were giving him, did that make him not able to solve... Was his brain fried at the end? He couldn't... Did he not want to do the crossword, or he couldn't do it?
I don't.
At
The end. You mean?
Yeah, the lady that he was engaged to came back and said, "Let's do a crossword puzzle," and he couldn't figure out any of the clues.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I think it was a sign of whatever he was taking, overcoming his brain and him not being able to do what he'd always done with his brain.
And I mean, any novel or any historical thing I've read about England in the past, I'm like, thank goodness I didn't go to school in Britain. These school systems, these all boys schools seem like torture camps. I was like, man, I'd rather if my parents had just said, you have to go live in the woods by yourself. Thank goodness. And don't send me to some boys school. Like, man, if you survive 12 years of that stuff, man, man. I mean, dudes are rough.
Does that even happen anymore? I guess it must, huh?
Any book I read, just the torture and it's like being sent to prison.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess that they're used to it. All right, I'm gonna go out and be tortured. What did he say? Violence is the reaction. What was his thing? Violence feels good.
Oh, because violence feels good.
Yeah, so I guess that's what those schools, you just get a bunch of male energy and, beating up somebody else, torturing somebody else feels good.
The institutional version of that.
Wow.
Who can remember the quote that was said several times in the movie?
The quote?
Yeah,
I was thinking about it on the way over here.
the quote.
I don't recall what you're...
The ones that they think that it's impossible they'll do anything end up doing the impossible or something along those lines.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember it myself. It's those that we can't imagine.
Yeah, it was something.
Somebody help me out there.
It was very poetic.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very sweet when she said it to him at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a powerful scene when she
Yeah.
was like, I just passed a city that wouldn't exist if you
Right.
didn't, and
Right.
people that wouldn't exist if you hadn't been alive. It's usually those that we can't imagine much of that do things that no one can imagine. Something like that.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Something like that.
Pretty close.
Oh, yeah.
Powerful. So there you go. I think we give it 3 thumbs up or 6 thumbs up on Imitation Game. Highly recommended movie out there.
And if you like that, you'll love Tuesday, December 6th, the Leonard Cohen documentary with Nathan Moore opening up the show.
At the Visualite Theater
That's
right here in
right.
Stanton, Virginia.
And that starts at 7?
That sounds about right.
Is there a charge?
Yeah, it's
$20.
like $20
Oh. And what's that go to?
to restoring the old Dixie Theater.
Oh, that's a good
Where they
thing.
used to have the hi-fi, what was it?
Try Hawaii parties. That was the last time I was in that building, I think.
Scott Rose wants to know, ultimately, are computers doing humanity more good than bad?
Well, that's a great, that's an ongoing issue. And no matter what you say right now, it can be different tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's how it gets interpreted in the future. But it's a tool,
Right.
and we're people. Human beings can use a tool for good or for bad. So I don't think...
That's a great answer. That's
I
a
don't-
very good answer.
Yeah, I don't think the evil is in there. The power for the evil is there.
Mm-hmm.
But you can see that with the social aspect of where we are. Whereas I have a lot of friends that I think are real friends on Facebook that I wouldn't know any other way except through Facebook. And at the same time, Facebook can be terribly damaging and destroy people and hurt them. And so it's a double-edged sword.
It's a double-edged sword, yep.
It's funny. I had so many people tell me Courtney, I think she wrote in they were using the term double-edged sword in conversation. Another friend of mine said, without even thinking about it, they used the word. They were like, what? God, that shows in my mind. I'm using the word double-edged sword.
It comes up if you never think about it, but then there's a lot of situations that it fits. So that until we talked about it, they wouldn't have thought about it.
That's right.
We're just putting bugs in people's ears. Because if you never think about something, you don't know anything about it. But as soon as you start thinking about it, you Google it, and then all of a sudden you're going on down the rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that question about computers has been asked about almost every significant advancement in some technological thing that completely changes society. Probably when the first wheel was made, it was much to the
definitely.
chagrin of all kinds of people that did something a different way that actually was empowering and led to community and from to factories, to television, to radio, all these things put a lot of people out of work
Right.
and employed a lot of people.
Right.
So depending on whether or not you were put out of work or employed by the new technology can determine your thoughts on the matter.
You're
But
exactly right. Yeah. We've got a lot of labor-saving devices, but what are we going to do with the people with nothing to do all day?
I think that's going to be a huge question for the future.
Yeah, we have to
Yeah.
figure out something to do.
Foffy gave us the exact quote. Sometimes it is the people who no one imagines anything of who do things that no one can imagine.
Yeah.
What a great quote. Scott Rose says, so much changed so quickly. 40 years now cars drive themselves. I saw a really funny thing on Twitter the other day. Somebody was trying the old Tesla had announced that they were going full self-driving beta version on the roads. And someone is like, well, if the car has to choose between killing a baby in a stroller or the passenger in the car, which would the car choose? And someone responded, it's a Tesla. It can do both. But that is pretty interesting that we're now going to be sharing the highways, the roads with self-driving cars.
I have serious questions about that.
I'm sure. Like what?
Well, like how does it make value judgments like that? I can see left or right, but
But do you think a person actually makes a value judgment
of course, in lots of things.
that quick?
Oh yeah, because that's what they grew up feeling. It's more of, I guess that's where I'm heading with it. It's more of a, there are things that you have to use your feelings for. And a computer's not very good at doing that, except it pretends.
Mm-hmm.
To
I mean, you could
actually-
program what we've decided is the right move, I guess. Kill the
Baby.
what is the move in that scenario? Is there a right call?
Well, I don't know. I'd have to give the baby an IQ test. Because you have a dumb baby, and then you have a smart kid over there. You need to save the smart kid, don't you? You don't want to just save a dumb baby.
Well, seriously, the whole nature of the joke is you hear baby, so you just think, oh, no matter what, save the baby. I
Right.
mean, that's, your heart just goes out to that.
Right, right.
But, what if you had Turing in the seat beside you?
Exactly.
You
Exactly.
would just, the baby would have to, But that's, you can't expect the.
I mean, but I guess the other side of that coin is that self-driving cars, probably in pretty soon they will be statistically infinitely safer than humans. Right. So if you're talking about just saving lives, if everybody was
So in 20 years it'll be illegal to drive a car.
It would almost be like driving drunk.
Right.
Exactly.
Like what are you doing?
Yeah. Well, and that makes sense.
And we're going back to the
But
movie.
it's scary too. It's
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But it's definitely coming.
Right.
And in fact, like if by the time there's like 30% self-driving cars, it'll probably be like imperative to get the rest of them self-driving.
Right.
Just because it'll be humans messing up the whole system.
That's exactly where I was going. Yeah.
Well, Turing even realized that because when they were deciding what they could do without letting anybody know, it was all percentages. Like we can
Right.
we can leak.
Right.
Like he was doing the numbers. We can save this one and explain it, but we can't explain two of them because there's no way to explain it. It was all percentages of what their knowledge could be used for.
Right.
And how much of a lie could the lie cover 20% or 2% or. Yeah, so probably like you said, the baby and the passenger, you'd have to the computer would have to like do percentages like really fast.
Right. And could do it way faster than we can.
Oh yeah.
Well, and it's a lot of it's about what data you feed into it.
Right.
If you have different things you can plug in, you can make it more exact. Whereas if I'm deciding, I'm basing it on what I know,
Right.
based on my background. But a computer can get input from 5,000 different
Right.
people and plug it all in, and there's a lot more accuracy.
Right. Seems like the default human reaction would be self-preservation.
I think so,
True.
too.
That's very true. But it's obvious too. You know, you're saying, well, you assume that, and then we go from there. If you're dealing with humans' interpretation, whereas you don't expect the computer to do that, so that's programmed in too.
Josh Sadler says motherboards against human driving. He's starting a new thing to go up against, or to join forces with MAD. Scott Rose says, do people prefer the freedom or the convenience
Of the computer?
of cars? We might need more on that one.
Well, that's like, I mean, my mom was like, she can't stand 81 anymore. 81 is like a march to the death camp for her. She considers, and we have to build a train, or something. In the old days we had it, but I always keep thinking, in the old days, the work was centered downtown or somewhere. The train would let you off. You maybe had to walk 6 or 7 blocks to where you were going. Now we're all so spread out. The car is just so convenient. Like you said, what was his question? The ease or the convenience?
Is it freedom or convenience that we prefer? They seem hand in hand.
Both.
Yeah.
Yeah, we like the freedom, and we like having it sitting in the driveway. And
a self-driving car just actually provides more convenience and more freedom, really, because you could be eating and reading a book while you're sailing through the Wild West on your little road trip.
But like he was saying, how we're built into what we, our beliefs. I could never sit in a car and just start reading a book.
Right.
Just you're programmed. My brain is programmed to pay attention and watch. If the guy just said, "Oh, it's fine, you can do whatever you want," I'm not going to kick the seat back and just go to sleep. While I was driving, I'd be sitting there like watching the whole time. But even like the minor changes.
After a while, though, I know you'd be that way for the first year, for sure. By the second year, you probably start trusting it a little bit more, because you've been paying so much attention every day on the way to work, and you've seen with your own eyes how good it is. So you trust it a little more the second year. Yeah, by year 5, you might be taking a nap on your way to work. Just wake me when we get there.
The car parks, I'm still asleep. Right. Where were you? I got here fine. I just long nap. Well, even the minor advances, like I had to have a rental car a couple months ago, and it had that rearview mirror where the light comes on when somebody's beside you. I mean, that's totally, instead of having to look in the rearview mirror all the time, it just tells you don't pull over, there's somebody there. I mean, that was like, I really miss that on my car now.
I love those features.
Yeah, it's like, so if the car's doing all the work and you're just sitting there, gosh.
Josh Sadler says, I think you guys might be giving human driving too much credit, but everyone else might be giving the technology too much credit. The hybrid options seem to have the most promise at the moment. Jeffrey Placco says, do self-driving cars text and drive or drink and drive? I'm torn on this conversation. Josh says, some cars do all sorts of stuff without human consciousness. Foffy says, except that in the hybrid option, humans have been shown to disengage, assuming the car has it covered. And ultimately, I think in the hybrid option, the human's going to be the weak link in that whole exchange. It'll be us overcorrecting or doubting or something that will cause the most accidents, not the technology.
Are these people that are writing do they all work for the Virginia Department of Travel or something?
Yeah, they're threatened.
Tourism. Wow, you stumped us.
How are we stumped?
There's only one answer to that. December 6th at 7 o'clock. Go to
the Visualites right here in Stanton, Virginia.
Yeah, let's change that subject to that subject. I think I gave a good review to the segment of the show where you sing a song. So I think we're ready for that.
Is it time for that?
It's time for that.
What's the song?
Well, I think we should follow with the theme of, was it Phil Oakes you're doing?
Leonard Cohen.
Leonard Cohen.
Leonard Cohen, yeah. Well, yeah.
Now, so what's
I
the
was joking. You jumped in my joke.
so what's the thing? So like you told us last or 2 weeks ago, you can't play anybody else's song in any way, but you can that actual recording, but you can sing a version of their song.
On YouTube?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, so you can't do anything.
Did we get in trouble last time?
I don't think we did. We snuck it in.
No. So you can't do a Leonard Cohen song?
I shouldn't.
You shouldn't do it. Well,
Those damn kids on Twitch turning us in.
that's what it is. There's little Twitch.
Go play a game and leave us alone.
Son of a gun. Well,
But so live you can do a Leonard Cohen song. If you want to do like you said you might do Hallelujah, so you can do a live version of it. But you just can't do it for public broadcast.
Right. Yeah, it's the. I mean, actually, that's more complicated too. The copyright thing has been an interesting reality, not just online but in the real world too, for a number of years now, because like every place in Stanton, probably like 10 years ago, got visited by men in suits that came to collect for the music that they were making. There's a sign, I could grab it, it's hanging over there, that Marinos hung up. Do you ever remember these little signs they put up all around their place that said, "We only play original music here"?
Oh wow!
Because somebody came in and wanted to charge them money for the covers that were being sung Tuesday nights at Marinos. I mean, it's next level weird stuff. Bowers used to host an open mic, and they just stopped doing it because they couldn't afford to pay.
Yeah, a friend of mine in New Jersey, Laura, if you're listening, you can tell us the details. She used to go to a coffee shop that had like some records. They would play them. And like you said, she told me, I can't remember the story exactly, but like two guys in suits came in and said, "Are you paying to play this music?"
Right.
So he had to open up like a little record store in his coffee shop to get from paying these, fees.
It's weird, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's terribly self-destructive for what we talked a little bit about that before, but I mean it's true both ways. Like people they can't sing your song.
Oh, you covered up your mic with your scarf there a little bit. Oh, it fell.
I can pick it up. It went down there.
So what would you do if you caught some old rascal doing one of your songs somewhere? Beat the crap out of him?
Oh, I would love him to death.
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, you ought to be able to sign a waiver. That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I guess it'd be better if.
But then you'd
Leonard,
have the other scenario where someone would actually make significant money off of your art, and.
Well, that's what I say. You could complain. There ought to be a place you could complain.
Right.
But if you don't complain, let it go. And if somebody's making money, then you complain and you get some of that money back.
Now, how long is it those becomes public domain? Like in Cole Porter and all that stuff, isn't that like public domain?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was wondering that too.
Is it 50 years or 75 years or? I can't remember.
Woody Guthrie had a famous, just proving that this is actually an issue way back in the day. Woody Guthrie used to put on his works, his copyright notice was, "The author of this work hereby waives all claim of copyright, economic and moral, in this work and immediately places it in the public domain. It may be used, distorted, or destroyed in any manner whatsoever without further attribution or notice to the creator."
Wow.
Did that work legally
Mm-hmm.
for him to be able to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, why can't you do that? In some type of forum where everybody knows. In other words, why can't there be a way to do that if you're somebody else.
Well, if there's any young songwriters out there, there is sort of a way, like if you use a distribution company, you can uncheck the box that says to scour YouTube and stuff like that for this copyright protection. So there is actually a way to free your stuff up a little bit in that regard. Nobody famous has done it. Leonard Cohen hadn't done it, but we can. You can uncheck that box, and they won't copyright strike people that share your music on their YouTube show or whatever.
But don't you think that was set for like you said, direct rip-offs? Now it's just been whittled down to, like, you know, what was that? The Verve, whatever, that used that little snippet from the Rolling Stones.
Right.
And they sued them, and Rolling Stones, you know, got $20 billion, sued them for using a little snippet of their song. They had to give up all profits from their only big hit ever.
Mm-hmm. Because of that little snippet.
Yeah.
John Fogerty got sued for sounding too much like himself. Because the Creedence Clearwater Revival catalog was owned by an entity. And then Fogerty came out with a solo record years later, and they're like, he's ripping off our catalog here by using these inflections and hooks and motifs that he invented in the first place.
Oh, my gosh.
It's a whole thing. Oh, Kyle's New Jersey friend, a new Discord person, is in here now. It says, yeah, he had to change his name from Roasters to Records and have a couple of crates of $1 records.
Oh, see, that's the coffee shop.
Right.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Wow.
All right, they're saying play us a ditty. Have you thought of what I'm playing yet, Dad?
Well, do you have one you want to play?
No.
Well, let's talk about. I had how far back should I go? I wrote a poem, and somebody said in that it was about a smile, and one of my friends who knew us, who's my friend, said that the poem reminded her of my mom, which I thought was very beautiful because it was a love poem. But one of the reasons I liked the poem was that it could be about a boy-girl love poem, or a child, or a friend, or just a smile, or an old man and a smile. So I loved what Dana said there, was she said that poem reminded me of Mom's smile. So I got to thinking about Mom's smile, and then it worked, and I started feeling better. And then I started thinking about what was Mom's favorite song, and that Nathan did, and here it is.
So while I tune up, why don't you open your present there, Kyle?
Oh, in the bag?
Yeah, that's your.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
Is it heavy?
This heavy. A kitten? Oh, look at that. Look what I got. Man.
Ooh. Hot dogs.
Be careful with that now. It's some Taos Home hot sauce.
That's Taos Home hot
They're
sauce.
the best.
Sponsors from way back.
Yes, they are the best.
Gotta take my glasses off to read it.
Well, be careful.
Let me rub my eyes.
You could go blind if you don't watch out.
Caramelized cayenne and blackberry reaper. Look at that.
Ding, ding, ding.
Available at WW.
You scored.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Oh, I like this cool wax ceiling.
Isn't that nice?
I was just telling a friend of mine he should sponsor us. He's an artist. He does tattoos and pins and stuff.
Oh, nice.
And he was like, he he said he was very proud of me for being on this show because he didn't know we had electricity in Stanford. Oh, what else is in here?
You said you had a CD player.
Oh my goodness, look at this, y'all. One of Nathan's CDs.
Oh, that's
Dear Puppeteer.
That's one of his
Dear
best right
Puppeteer.
there.
Co-produced by Brian Elijah Smith back in the day.
That's a great one.
Y'all are looking at the luckiest man in the world right now.
Maybe you'll have a request next time. After.
I know. I would
Yeah.
listen to this.
Let me see that out. Or read off some names.
Oh my
Besides
gosh.
the Dear Puppeteer, what all?
Like a cartoon, Safe to Stay, Dear Puppeteer, This Is Us in the Basement, This Is You, a Little Crazy, I'm the Same, The Garden,
I'm the Same. That was gonna be one.
Hollow, Can't Fly to Heaven, When My Time Comes, Train of Thoughts, Choose Thy Love, I'm Good Company.
That's
It's a good one. It's a good
Gosh, he's making happy sounds about every single one of them.
That's a great album.
one. Thanks.
Thank you so
I
much.
played that on my car for years.
Nice.
Wow, y'all. Y'all should start a podcast so you can get gifts. Man, that's awesome. Thank you, Nathan.
All right, Nana's favorite song.
By the way, this is a classic 50s love song.
Oh, I was going to play a different one.
Oh, good.
No,
I want to
can do
hear
that
what
one.
I want to hear what you're gonna do.
You can do two.
Yeah.
No, can't do two.
And listen, y'all, if you like what you're hearing, you can come down Tuesday, December 6th at Vigilite. Nathan Moore is opening up for the lovely Leonard Cohen documentary.
I wouldn't. You're right. I mean, they were probably tied, but I was thinking So Close to Dreams. The world really is magic. She always loved that one.
Oh yeah.
So maybe I'll do that one, and we'll do the.
Do it. Do whatever you do.
You're thinking of If I Didn't Love You.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'll have to call her up and see what she thinks.
When a little boy thinks he's Superman, then he almost can. He almost can fly. When he takes his toy truck and drives it through the sand, the boy moves mountains with his little hand. And the world really is magic. Nothing could be clearer. Nothing could be clearer. And somebody says, no, man, it's all a trick.
It's all a trick.
Done with smoke and mirrors, cigarettes, makeup, last call. Whenever a man is down upon his knees, more than likely he's praying for redemption. But when a little boy prays unto the Lord, he can almost hear the Lord listening. And the world really is magic. Nothing could be clearer. Nothing could be clearer. And then somebody says no, it's all a trick. Done with smoke and mirrors, cigarettes, makeup, last call. When a little boy thinks he's Superman, then he almost can. He almost can fly. So close to dreams, so far from trials. And I'm that little boy again, every once in a while. The world really is magic. Nothing could be clearer. Nothing could be clearer. Yeah, the world really is magic. Nothing could be clearer. Nothing could be clearer. Thank you, thank you.
Wonderful.
Beautiful, beautiful song.
I remember once Nana and I were outside in her little flower garden, and I'm not sure where it came from, but she like grabbed my sleeve and was like, you know, in that song when you say, when a little boy prays unto the Lord, he can almost hear the Lord listening. She's like, no one writes like that.
Oh,
It was I don't know where that came from, but she just like
sweet.
pulled me aside to let me know that I was the only one that ever would have written that line or something.
Right. Isn't that
wow.
beautiful?
That's so sweet.
You made your father cry. I can feel that. Huh. What was it? I had the same feeling earlier in that song when you said redemption. The thought went through my head is nobody says redemption anymore in a song or any other. You just don't hear that word, redemption.
Yeah. It's something we've lost touch with to a certain extent.
You know, I was just putting this together in my head right now, but I'm thinking that's what that movie was about.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that bothered you the most when we started talking about it was that he never got redemption.
Mm-hmm.
And he should have.
Right.
He deserved it.
He didn't even need it. He didn't even really need it.
He didn't need it? Oh, I think he did. At the end, I think he wished he'd lived in a better world.
Right. But he needed saving from an evil force. Whereas redemption is more like being saved from your own self, from your own evil or whatever.
And I'm not sure I agree with you on that.
Now, do you
My
think
connotation of
he saw
redemption.
homosexuality as an evil? You think they convinced him of that?
I don't think he did. The one thing I did read after I went down the rabbit hole after watching the movie was how he was unusually for his time open and honest about that with people. Right. They did show that in the movie. Like he told people.
Right.
As if they didn't know.
Right.
It was weird too how it was almost being a Russian spy was as bad as it was being gay. Like the guy said, if you're gonna tell me I'm the Russian spy, I'll tell him you're gay. It was like a standoff. Like like
Right.
it just
Right.
seems so far fetched now. But
Mm-hmm. I feel like it's another example of something that's we talked about last week in terms of segregation and civil rights and stuff like that, of how these things come to remind us how recent in history all that was. Like it was all in Dad's lifetime.
yeah.
Like you were when you were a little boy,
Well, my brother couldn't come out.
right?
He could have, but he chose not to. And that was the time he lived in.
Mm-hmm.
He thought it would be better for his family, not necessarily for him, but at that time probably for him too. It was just easier. It was more of a not having to deny it, just don't have to tell anybody.
Right.
Don't, which, I don't know, it wasn't as bad, but it could have been.
Right.
If he'd been in the wrong situation,
Right.
it could have been.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just very similar in terms of how we approached racial things back then. We ignored it and created another reality,
Right.
and convinced children that was a real reality,
Mm-hmm.
or did our best.
Mm.
And that was the culture I grew up in,
Right.
and all of us did in Little Stanton.
Mm-hmm.
Although it's probably a different world in San Francisco even then.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't even know that San Francisco was like that. We didn't know it was out there.
I have people my own age that ask me about, how high school was terrible and all this stuff. I was like, this was in the 80s. I don't remember, there was like gay kids, and, I don't remember people being against them. Like, oh, what kind of high school did you go to? I was like, this is a small town Stanton, but I don't know if it's because we all grew up together and you just get used to people, or if it was, but I don't remember any like that meanness.
I don't either. That's an interesting point because, I know that there were my peers that were gay, but I never knew that they were being persecuted.
Mm-hmm.
I never knew that they walked around saying they were gay, but, it was just assumed. And, sometimes you're probably wrong. They were just, they weren't gay. They were just, had an effeminate thing. I have a female side. Everybody has one, and some are bigger than others. But yeah, it just doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
That's not that big a deal. But back then, it was a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy.
It is crazy.
And it is remarkable how much has changed, when you look at things like that.
I remember reading that the Joe Orton was like a big playwright in England in the 60s and stuff. And he was a gay guy. It was the same. They said those laws went into this up into the 60s, didn't they? You know what it said to that movie? And I read his biography. It was like the same thing. You live your life. You're not hiding it. But when the law comes in, you gotta be like, oh, you're like, no.
There's still sodomy laws on the books in a lot of towns and stuff. They don't use them anymore, but I think even Stanton might still have a sodomy law on the books. I don't know if it's like it has to be officially removed or something. But it's strange. It's strange. Although, they just right now they just passed in the Senate the gay marriage protection, and it has to go to the House now, and it wasn't unanimously voted in favor of.
Right.
There's a lot of people that held out for whatever remnants of the past is still strong within them.
Right.
It's a little disappointing that there's anybody that would vote against such a thing. can blame it almost on partisan politics, not necessarily like they just don't like it because the other team proposed it or something.
Oh yeah. That's true.
But it is sad that we can't all just come together on some simple questions like that, even today. Jaybird, welcome to the show. I am the sun. Good to see you.
I am the sun. That's Margie from New Jersey. That's Mr. Moore's friend.
Who?
I am the sun. My friend that came down from New Jersey when you came down for the cookout.
Hello. Good to be seen.
So we're over an hour now, just so you know.
Is that right?
Yeah, see, it flies by,
Yeah,
right?
flies by.
Good Lord.
Look at you, fresh as a daisy, sitting over there, ready to go.
Just
Well,
getting warmed up.
I was talking about when I went home and watched this, I was very embarrassed by my lack of teeth, my coarseness, and picking at myself, and I just don't like being on. I don't like being able to be seen like this.
Well,
And I want to be a frog. I'd rather be hiding behind a frog than being out. I'm embarrassed.
I had some people tell me too, oh, you do this, you do that, you need to stop doing this. I'm like, and it sort of like hurts my feelings at first. I'm like, oh, fuck it, I'm what I am. You know?
Well, I'm not. It sounds like I'm just being worried about my personal appearance, but I'm thinking about the show, not me personally. I just think there's more out there than looking at me.
I don't know. I mean, now that you kicked it up a notch with the scarf and the nice shirt, and I mean, you're looking pretty good today.
Well, I have not been picking at my head, so I've been working on it. I'm working on my game.
Poppy says we like seeing you.
Oh,
See?
isn't that sweet?
Steven says, Hi, Carl. Hi, Kyle. I knew you in another life. BEF.
Steven?
Mm-hmm.
I can't, oh my God.
It's either an old friend or someone who's just really bonding with you at the moment.
Steven.
Maybe both.
It could be both.
Steven, you gotta give me more clues. Come on, man.
I wonder if BEF is a clue. I don't know what it could possibly mean.
God, that sounds like it's one of my bold print people. BEF, that's for some reason that sounds. Steven, give us some more clues.
You should bring in some old copies of Bold Print. I'd love to see those again. You got some at home?
I have them all. I have all the originals.
You have all of them?
Yeah.
Nice. You don't have one of those hardbound books of them, do you?
No, I wish I did. Oh man, that'd be nice.
Yeah, I'd like to see some of those from when you were in school.
Well,
BEF was a typo, apparently. He says, I retired. Josh Sadler says, it's always great to see y'all. Steve, you are the only one you know. I have been listening to y'all at work, not watching, and it's a solid listen in podcast mode. Keep it up, fellas.
Oh,
That's what you got to do is just listen to it like a podcast while you're cooking dinner or something, and not watch it.
I like that idea. I was just trying, but I was analyzing it. I was criticizing myself, trying to see what the show was like. I mean, it wasn't just me. I'm critical of the way the whole format here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm critical of
the way you
several
look,
things
too.
of you trying to wear 3 hats. It's just hard to do. I don't think we could do that differently.
It's a tough one for me to find someone that would be willing to wear one of the hats and that same personality be someone I would trust with the hat.
True. True. Yeah.
Stephen, this is your opportunity. Come out from the woodwork and help us.
Yeah, you're retired. You got time.
If you're really a friend of mine, come help us.
But how, like we could have a camera person rather than this whole setup, and they could.
Oh my goodness.
So it wouldn't be on me all the time, and you all the time, and you all the time. It'd be moving around.
Moving.
And you could put it so that all three of us would be in the same picture, which would be nice.
Mm-hmm.
That would be better in terms of the social contract than three. It looks like we're not even in the same room.
Right, we're all on a Zoom call or something.
Yeah, it looks very zoomy. By the way, I've never zoomed in my life. Not many people can say that, I don't think.
Yeah, you have though. I've been on a Zoom with you.
Oh shit! Caught in a lie again. What was that?
Family Zooms
We didn't do much
with
of that.
Nana and the Fishers and everybody
Okay.
during the lockdown. We had a couple of good family hangs.
All right. Well, we didn't do much of that.
Not much. But I can completely relate. Like, if since I've gained a lot of weight over the last 5 years or whatever, and if there was a camera angle that was showing that, I wouldn't be able to stand it.
Well, it definitely shows on me. I can't
All right,
hide this thing.
So,
But I want to make a qualification here. I want to explain this. This has nothing to do with being fat. It has nothing to do with a beer gut. I haven't had a beer in 6 years. It has everything to do with drinking too much for 40 years and having a liver and the kidneys that don't process right. So when you see this is not just a fat old man. This is someone who's having trouble with his liver.
oh,
And you should get a whole different set of emotions when you see my belly. And I'm
Wow.
not speaking for your belly. I just want to defend my own.
Mine's actually overeating things.
and
Well, I knew that belly very well. I hated that belly.
And I'm
But,
just a fat old man that drinks too much. So.
well, I wasn't trying to. My belly was not trying to
Intimidate our bellies.
trying to insult your bellies. It was just trying to defend his own. So.
Well, I feel like in terms of, the hats that I wear, that I have each of us looking pretty darn good on our show.
I do too.
Well, I'd say cut it off right here.
You might be a little too brightly lit there, Kyle. I'll work on that.
Well, you need it brightly lit to see his beard coming in.
Can y'all see the beard? Steven, can you see it working on the
It is
beard?
really. I
Yeah,
get
well-
warm just looking at it.
We'll keep progress report every week. See how that goes.
Check back in a couple of years. You might be able to see
I
what's
can
still
see,
in the gaps.
I can see him buying shoe polish later in the week.
Tune in next week to see no difference.
One thing you can always count on.
Indiscernible
That
change.
beard's going to be right there.
Go into a coma for 3 years and tune back in. I didn't miss anything. By the look of his beard.
Well,
You have anything in your book there? Or is that just in case?
yeah, there's stuff in the book.
No, I was intrigued. I can't remember who asked it. I think it was somebody asked if you doodle. Do you doodle at all, or it's just writing?
I don't doodle much in the journal. I don't doodle much at all anymore, but I do occasionally take off.
Oh yeah, the Nathan's Land logo was that a doodle or is that
That was
artwork?
That was an art doodle.
Art doodle.
I mean, all my art is a doodle. It's just some of them last longer. That one would be one that I'd get to a certain
Classic doodle.
a certain stage of the night where probably there'd be THC involved, and I would be relaxed, and I'd
Right.
just start scribbling.
Wow.
Or in between a poem, I'd do that. So
I remember when I was in grade school, this this classmate of mine was talking about how good of a drawer his dad was. And I was like, my dad is way better drawer than your dad. And we made a bet. We're like, okay, you get your dad to draw a picture, and I'll get my dad to draw a picture, and we'll see who's the best. And so I went to Dad, and I was like, Dad, you got to draw me a picture, make it a really good one, because this kid at school is being a jerk or whatever. So a couple days later, we both show up with our pictures that our dad drew. And I swear to you, his dad had drawn this, like, warrior, this, like, stacked warrior with an awesome sword and all this energy. And Dad drew me the cutest little bunny you've ever seen in your life. I mean, you would not believe the detail that went into this bunny.
I like bunnies. I did a lot of bunnies.
Yeah, I thought my bunny was way cooler than his warrior.
And you just hope.
We didn't have judges, so we both just sort of got to
And you just hope that warrior was holding a double-edged sword.
Or that my bunny was fast.
his bunny was the one from Monty Python. Remember that scene?
Oh my gosh, that's funny. So did y'all exchange, or you just showed him off and ran back to
I wish I had a more crystal memory of that. We both showed our pictures, and I think he felt very clear that his warrior had kicked my bunny's butt. And I probably didn't put up too much of a fight myself.
That's funny how I remember my dad too, but I can't remember. He would just draw, like, because he loved, like, the comics. He like every Mark Trail and all this. So he loved all that stuff, and he would just draw like some characters. Sometimes me and my brother thought that was like the best art of all time.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
All right, I'll leave you with this. This is one that was in there from last time. In terms of things I was looking through my journals, and I'll make quotes, and thoughts for the day. And here was one that I thought was interesting, that we could lead into a discussion on the idea of statistics and breaking them down and analyzing them, because I see a whole lot of abuse. People will say, scientists think this. Well, you have too many variables.
Right.
For instance, you're saying this causes this. Black people get this disease more than white people. Well, is that because of genetics or because of economics?
Right.
And which one does which? You got to study that and tell me which one does what. Because if you don't go to the doctor and you get, that can cause a problem too. So a lot of times, and then what you have is the hidden variable. But what we do see is that there are people that are, in terms of codes, they're taking, in terms of what we're talking about with the movie, but they're taking data and interpreting it to their own use and twisting it in a way that it sounds scientific,
Right.
when it's not really scientific at all.
Right.
And that would be introduced by this quote that I would put on the board and not say anything about. And the quote is very simply, and I want y'all to think about this for a little bit here. Let me see if I can find it.
Wait a minute, so you have all the things you wrote on the border in that book?
I have one book that has most of them.
Oh,
It's just
wow.
a book of those thoughts. I'll bring it next time if I think about it. Let's see. Where was it?
Stephen gave you another clue, Kyle. Here's a clue. I used to be in the insurance business with you. Stephen.
grief.
All right, here it is. You ready? Think about this. The average American has one testicle.
This is from your research or what?
Yes, I discovered this. I did the research.
So
That explains a lot.
so that was on the board.
I wrote that on the board. That was the thought for the day.
Oh, because like a men have 2 and women have 0. So
The average American
one.
has one.
Is that
The
right?
average American has one testicle. What are you saying?
Because men have 2 and women have 0, so the average is it's
One.
right.
You explained that to me. You are an extraordinarily intelligent young man.
But I can understand how you say it. People don't see. They just say, "Wait, that doesn't make any sense."
No, it doesn't make any sense at all if you think about it, because it's not true.
And one breast, adds Foffy.
What's that?
And one breast.
Oh, yes, definitely. I thought you said breath.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, technically, we have breasts too,
I know.
but
I know
I,
it.
but it's
Yeah, I follow.
we're with you.
Is
We're
that
with
tr-
you.
But is that true? Does it average? So does it average out that that's true?
Yeah, it's true, but it's has nothing to do with the truth.
It's meaningless.
With
It's
reality.
Meaningless truth.
And that's what I was talking about as I introduced it, that you can take statistics and make them say what you want to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, half the reasoning on Twitter these days is exactly as illustrated by that example.
Yep.
100%.
Oh, I know who Steve is.
The big one last week was people were all over Twitter saying now the majority of deaths from COVID are coming from the vaccinated. As if that was like a big gotcha moment, where it's like the same thing as saying the majority of car deaths were people wearing a seatbelt. It's like you're not proving what you think you're proving
Right.
with this statistic.
Right.
I just figured out I didn't know him as Steven. I know him as Steve. You might know his band, which, oh my God, now I can't think of his band's name. He probably knows you as a musician.
Foffy says, "Oh my God, Steve, I used that in my stats class." You used that exact example, the testicle example? Kyle parks by my house every morning.
Yeah, it's Steve. It's he has, oh my God, what's the name of his band? His band played at the Bigfoot Festival this year.
Bigfoot Festival.
In
I need
Weird
to know more about this. I didn't even know there was a Bigfoot
Steve.
Festival.
I didn't know you by the name Steven. You were throwing me. Oh my God, I can't think of the name of his band. Very cool, like mountain, like not. I don't know how you would describe it. Fiddles and a.
Yonder Mountain?
He plays like a wash tub with a.
Oh, nice.
Stick. Oh my
Yeah.
God, I can't.
Oh, wow.
Steve, you got to help us out here. Nathan might know who you are. Oh my God, they're from Harrisonburg. Oh my God, with the camera on me, I can't think.
Cousin Jimmy's.
Yeah,
That's the name of the band?
yeah,
Nice.
Cousin Jimmy?
yeah. Very cool band.
Well, that's cool.
Very cool.
Steve-
Welcome to the show, Steve.
Steve's
Thanks
a
for
won-
tuning
Steve's
in.
a wonderful guy too. Very cool guy.
Well, that's great.
The Steven name, I never knew him so properly.
So Foffy's saying she uses that exact example in her class. She says, "Wonder if I first heard it from Steve."
It's possible.
That's fascinating.
I didn't know that, though. But, I mean, I read this in my journal, and I don't know when I wrote the journal.
It's from the Bible, isn't it? From our history, from our religious class a couple of weeks ago. Isn't that in the Bible? The average human will have one testicle, God declared.
So it shall be.
Now, is that the Old Testament or the New Testament? Because in the New Testament, I think they separated them 2 per man and 0 for women. I think the New Testament got it all straightened.
They
out.
figured it out.
I just realized while you're talking there that we were talking about Kethra.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I didn't really catch that earlier, but I wanted to make a public statement that I miss the voice of reason being here with us. By the way, you are missed.
Aw.
But see, if you went to England to all these all boys schools, they wouldn't understand that at all. The average human only has one testicle. They'd be like, "What the hell? Which one of us here?"
There's a whole lot of things.
Yeah, they would be looking at each other
There's
sideways.
a whole lot of things little schoolboys in England wouldn't know I was talking about.
Did you say you actually have a collection of all your thoughts for the day in one place?
Well, I've tried different times, but I do have one book that's nothing but thoughts for the day.
Wow.
It's a small book, but
Dad was a high school teacher, and every day he would have a thought for the day up on the right-hand side of the chalkboard. I used to peek in your room just to see what the thought for the day was every day.
yeah, that was fun. Yeah, and sometimes they would be for humor, and some days they would be for science, which is why we were there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had free range to do what I want.
I think Mr. Kurtz's disappointment might have started when he came in and he saw the testicle quote up on the platform.
I better keep my eye on this one.
Troublemaker here.
Troublemaker.
Any number of those quotes could have upset him. Well,
What does Steve know about me? I told nobody to tell him my secret.
yeah, that's quite a statement there. The average person. And you say, well, I don't. I'm not average. It's really a sad thing to have two.
Weirdo.
It's always nice to have backup.
Right.
So with the movie coming up, Leonard Cohen, does anybody have a favorite Leonard Cohen song or memory or anything? Thought?
I feel like, did you listen to him when I was a kid, right?
Oh, yeah.
Always.
My favorite song of his is Suzanne.
Mm-hmm. That recording is unbelievable.
That's just got some of the best lines I've ever heard. So that, I tend to go after the lyrics.
No, have either of you heard that Jennifer Warren album, the Blue Raincoat?
No.
It was like in the 80s when I was working at a record store. I mean, she had like a pretty voice, and she took a lot of his songs and just sort of prettied them up a little bit. It sold like crazy.
Huh. Jennifer Warren?
I think that was her name, yeah.
Don't know her.
I don't know that
Have
either.
to Google her tonight. Yeah.
You ever listen to him?
Yeah. I didn't know he was like just a writer before.
He was the poet laureate before he started
just like
singing at all.
Yeah, just like a hard ass to get along with, from what I understand.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've
like
never heard
just
that.
Sort of, sort of like Turing. He was like, I'm a talented dude, don't F with me, like he had sort of an ego. But then he became like, was he a Buddhist?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think he sort of
Later in life.
Sort of got control of
He's
all
probably
that.
doing that just to mellow himself
Yeah.
out, take the edge off. It's interesting. I never heard that about him. But I guess everybody gets accused of that at some point.
Yeah.
If you're successful.
Right.
He had a long career, though. Gosh, how long did, 50 years or so?
He was performing all the way to the end, too,
Yeah.
which is pretty inspiring. And he did a really good job of completely redefining himself to new generations. Like, he was all gone there for a second, then all of a sudden, what was that movie? Natural Born Killers comes out, and there's this whole new Leonard Cohen vibe.
Oh, was one of his songs in that?
Like, there's like the soundtrack of the movie.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Everybody knows that the dice are loaded.
Right.
And it was like with pop beats and
Right.
computer generated music and stuff, and it was just a whole new dude for a new generation.
Wow.
And especially at my age, I take special note when an artist can redefine themselves for the next generation for the next.
He was such a
Next
cool,
wave.
like, intellectual, sexy guy, too. He wasn't out there, like, shaking and grinding and doing all that stuff. He was just like
Poet
"Damn,
laureate."
this dude's sexy as hell. You know, just sitting up there with his brain, like, oh, my God.
I'd like to have some of that.
Oh, man. But he wasn't like the Tom Jones or anything. You know, went
No,
out there,
he was
wasn't
not
out
a
there in
Tom
the leather
Jones.
pants. But Tom Jones was cool, too, but,
Yeah.
yeah, just so smart.
Tom Jones was like the warrior, and Leonard was like the bunny.
The killer bunny.
That's right.
Killer bunny.
Don't underestimate him.
Oh, definitely.
Hey, Percy.
Now, did he write, was he a, did he, I think he wrote some novels, too, didn't he?
He what?
He definitely wrote books of,
Yeah.
of poetry and stuff. I don't know about. Oh, he did write a novel or two. I've never read those.
I've never read any of that either. I'd like to.
Yeah, it might be good.
Well, I think we're ready to wrap it
I
up.
feel like Percy came down to,
I
as the
think-
producer,
Got his
being like,
pajamas
"All right,
on.
good."
Just saying that's a wrap.
We almost did 2 hours again, though. Sorry about that.
We're doing better.
But you know, the 3-hour podcast is the new format. Just
Well,
long-winded conversations. There's a whole new audience for that in the world. People are looking for.
well, just play us twice.
There you go.
All right, so look, we got people in Harrisonburg listening. Steve, Stephanie and Stanton,
We've got people in Utah, people in California,
Lauren Freehold,
Vermont is in the house.
my sweet baby girl Margie in New Jersey City. We're going worldwide.
It's a growing, expanding
I
community.
know.
I love it.
And you should all come to Stanton Tuesday to the Visualite to see
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. See Nathan over here opening up for the Leonard Cohen documentary.
I'll be there. Kyle will be there.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
And we'll only do 1 hour after his show.
And we'll be sitting in the audience looking at Nathan going, look at that sexy, intelligent motherfucker up there.
Y'all will get in line over there. We're going to check on those testicles right over here.
Everybody with 1 to the left, everybody with 2 to the right.
Yeah, that's a good one to end
And then
on.
we're going down to the Hi-Fi Y, whatever
Well, thank you both so much for another wonderful episode of Jabber John. We'll be back next Thursday, hopefully, at 7 o'clock. Like clockwork, you can set your watch to us. And look
Except
forward to
we
that.
weren't here last week and didn't tell anybody. And
Well, it was Thanksgiving.
They were,
Well,
all,
yeah.
they were all sleeping it off.
They were all, asleep from turkey.
And also, don't forget I got gifts.
And don't forget, Kyle got gifts. Towels home.
Towels home.
Make it stop. Hot sauce. Thank you out there for
Nathan
watching.
CD.
Appreciate you all
Thank
so
you.
much. And we'll see you soon.
Love y'all.
it's all good. There we go.
That was fun.
Oh, that was
Yeah,
good.
that went pretty good, I reckon.
I like the people writing in. That was fun.